Second.
I move that the Fishermen's Advisory Board votes to recommend to the Coastal Resource Management Council that Vineyard Wind's mitigation proposal, as described in the Vineyard Wind mitigation proposal term sheet dated January 16, 2019, amended February 12, 2019, based on input from the CRMC and the FAB, and subsequently finalized on February 15, 2019, and also attached as exhibit to the February 22, 2019 settlement agreement, is acceptable for purposes of federal consistency. If I can get a second.
Can we get a second on that? Seconded.
Thank you.
The public doesn't get any input yet?
We're not voting yet, and we'll get the we'll take time for the public when the business is done up here. It's not a public hearing. It is a public meeting. Public hearing comments can be said at the CRMC's full council. There's been plenty of opportunity for public input through the last year and a half of FAB meetings, CRMC meetings. We had an industry meeting yesterday, 2 days ago, I believe, in Point Judith. So there's been plenty of opportunity for public comment. Written comments were accepted for weeks on several different occasions. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was a very difficult negotiation. We were dealt, in my opinion anyway, a pretty shady hand. We had to make some decisions that are very difficult for this community. And based on all the information in front of us and the process and the risk to us going forward, if we reject this offer, I think that we would be much better off approving this document, preparing for the next battle, making some changes to the stamp document that will help us move forward. This is a precedent-setting agreement that I feel is important for us to move forward with. We put a lot of time into this, put a lot of thought. There's a lot of risk on every side of it. This is the least risk-averse option that I believe we have, and that's why I made that motion. If anyone else had any comments, that'd be good.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Brian?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Trish again. That was a pretty accurate review of the account that has us all here today. I just wanted to step back just real quick back to the beginning, maybe try and put it into a fisherman's perspective that we can understand. We're here discussing mitigation now because the initial layout for this Vineyard Wind project, which we've all seen a chart at some point in time where it is out in the ocean. It's a part of the ocean that at some point in time in any of our lifetimes we've probably all used, transversed across. We're here with mitigation because of the layout proposal. This body felt that the user groups of the ocean could not coexist there with the windmills. We asked them several times to change the layout. They explained that they couldn't. Once again, numerous headbutting meetings about how they felt that we still could coexist in there as user groups. We approached different industry members, got input, charts, PC wind plot overlays on everything. We stated our case to the best of our ability, and there was no layout change, which then started this process of mitigation. I just wanted to step back even maybe a couple of days before November 19th and just bring it to that. Like Rick had just said, this has been a brutal process. At times feel I'm being an improper representative of my industry or of the fishing industry. You go home, you cool off a little, and you hope that we're making the right move, and we've asked for the industry to support us with the time that we've put in, that this is the proper move to make for this industry going forward. That's about it. Thank you for letting me make a statement, Mr. Chairman.
Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a stacked deck from the very beginning. I will assure you that good policy has the potential to give rise to good outcomes. The policy that is in force via BOEM, the authority vested in that agency, and the profound absence of checks and balances, which are the founding principles of our governance in this nation, do not exist with regard to their pursuit of energy at any cost. We have 40 to 50 years invested in the conservation of our stocks, millions of dollars, lives. We have personal investments, family sacrifice. We have so much invested in our fisheries, and none of that matters to Boehm. They are in an inexhaustible search for the next energy source. Years ago, it was drill, baby, drill. Now it's spin, baby, spin. It's the same thing. They value nothing, and we have no way to rein them in. We have to do something about that. There are no rules for interagency play. There is no codification process by how we explore expanding the utility of our nation's oceans. So you have that, and then we had a newly elected governor to the state of Rhode Island who was losing sleep over trying to save Massachusetts ratepayers money. Would someone explain that to me? She was more concerned about the financial well-being of a developer rather than the citizens who elected her to her position. I need to have a lot of that explained to me at some point in time. I don't seem to be able to get any answers. The phone isn't ringing too good up there anymore since the election. There is nothing more dangerous to the citizens of a state than a governor who does not seek re-election. So I'm not happy. I don't normally go off. I'm usually pretty reserved. But I think these are some glaring problems with what we just went through. The outcome was destined to be less than we were entitled to from the very beginning. Nowhere in any of this were we given anything. We won very few points compared to what we thought were reasonable requests. Concerns for safety, long-term conditions of the fishery, cumulative impacts, ongoing science, baselines. If this is the first, and if character foretells destiny, then I am fearful of what the future holds for the commercial fishing industry. Thank you.
No. Anybody else have any input from the members?
Yeah, Chris mentioned the baseline science. That's one of the things that's been bothering us through the whole thing. It's very hard to enter into mitigation, compensation discussions without good long-term baselines, without great science. There's too much that was missing from all this process, such as lobster and crab VTRs, no VMS data. Too much is missing out on this, and it's stuff that we unfortunately cannot fully prove. It doesn't stand up, unfortunately, the way the fisheries are structured for data. Without the prerequisite baseline science that I feel should have been done and is requisite of the ocean SAMP process, it makes it very difficult for us to move forward and to determine future impacts as well. This decision that we've come to is the best source of protection, I think, for us moving forward into the future. I'm not happy with any of this. It has come at a great burden and cost to all of us. Going through this process, as Brian said, it was brutal at times. None of us is happy about this, but this is what had to happen, I believe, and this is where we are at right now. I think this is the best that we're going to get for now. Moving forward, it is imperative that we act smartly and use our experiences here to move forward. We have 5 more projects coming at us, at least, to the east here, and we have them stacked up to the west that are also going to require federal consistency. All down south of Long Island. If you want to talk squid, you want to talk scallop, you want to talk ocean quahog, you know, we have a lot coming at us. So I think, unfortunately, this is the best that we're going to get, and we worked hard on your behalf. I have zero self-interest in this other than to keep the ship afloat for all of us. Thank you.
If I could, too, just so you understand that the game has been completely changed on everybody here, because under the new administration, they came in with a presidential executive order requiring one federal decision, and that decision must be completed within 1 year of the announcement of the EIS. So the federal agencies are all scrambling at this point, trying to get their input into that decision to get this one federal decision. All permits must be issued within 2 years along with the record of decision. So everything has to be buttoned up and done within 2 years on this process now. Never been done before, but we're all scrambling to try to do this at this point. The other limitation I just wanted to make you aware of is once a notice of intent is issued to draft an EIS, we have 6 months to render a decision. We can extend that period, but it can only be done by mutual agreement between Vineyard Wind and ourselves. So, if we don't render that decision within 6 months, it is presumed consistent and off they go. So these are the limitations that we're operating under, why the process hasn't been able to go in a much more relaxed and thoughtful process. We're under these time constraints where if we don't make these decisions, they escape us.
So you gave them an extension once?
It was a mutual agreement between, at the time they were coming in, I think you're talking about the first extension we gave back in November.
Right.
That extension was to allow negotiations to go on with the fab. Otherwise, we would have had to vote that night and make a decision. We granted an extension to give them approximately 7 weeks to go and negotiate with the fab. And as you're aware, I think, it didn't occur. They came in the night of the fab meeting wanting to make an offer, and we agreed to several other extensions beyond that to allow the negotiation process to continue so that we weren't forced into a situation. The council has to vote Tuesday night now on this project. Otherwise, if we don't vote and render a decision on it, it will be presumed consistent and gone.
I get all that. My question is...
Hang on, Don.
I'm sorry, you both talk at the same time.
Yeah.
I need your name.
Donald Fox.
Thank you.
So my question, I didn't finish it, was that you agreed to an extension with them, but they won't give you one?
No, it has to be mutually agreed to.
Right. So you agreed, this council or this board or the Coastal Resources Management Council agreed with Vineyard Wind to give them an extension in November.
Yes.
And now it's being shoved through. You can't get an extension, you know what I mean?
The last extension that we have ends March 1st, I believe.
Okay. All right, so
Why can't you do another one?
I need your name.
Rich Lodge.
I'm sorry?
Rich Lodge.
It has to be done mutually.
Negotiations are over. I mean, there was a deadline put on this, and it's done. We're not here to discuss extending it or anything. And I don't know why everybody is so surprised here. You've been involved in fisheries management for how long? Multiple times sued, done everything we can to change things. And I don't see NOAA or NIMS or anybody on the federal level coming to save this industry. It's this industry against the world. Every NGO, all the agencies want this to happen. The whale people want it to happen. Look around and see what you're up against. Just open your eyes and see what you're up against. That's the bottom line. That's what you have to, that's what we had to weigh and look at as a group. There is no choice here.
Sure there is.
There is no choice.
Sure there is.
there's plenty of choices.
So you
Excuse me.
So you
Okay,
paid?
okay, it's not a public hearing. We're gonna end this and we're gonna get on to the business of this meeting. There's a motion on the table. Okay, Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, in my rationale, I reference that this agreement is precedent setting, and I just want to, for the record, clarify what I mean by that. This agreement is precedent setting in that it establishes a trust that is in the hands of the fishing community and not the state. That is very important to us. The FAB feels strongly that this agreement is not precedent setting in the way that we determine the value of the fisheries in this area. So for the record, I want to make it clear that that's what I mean when I say precedent setting.
Any more discussion? I'm gonna take a couple of questions for the audience, and I'm gonna keep it small. A few guys, because we've had plenty of time for this. Danny Ingram?
Lady, I'm curious as to what Mass is doing. Is Mass similar to this? Do they have a fab? Do they have a settlement with Mass?
We had a gentleman at the fishermen's meeting in Point Youth the other day from Mass. They have nothing going on. There's nobody's aware of anything at this point.
So there's no mitigation for the
No.
guys in Mass?
The only mitigation we're aware of is what you're seeing in that first package. That first that $1 million, well, it was supposed to be 600 million, 6 million over 30 years. That is the requirement by BOEM. That is the federal requirement that is being put out to the industry for mitigation. And I'll let Tricia qualify.
I just want to clarify that it's not the amount that's required. It's that BOEM requires the company to have a direct compensation fund, and they determine what a reasonable amount is for that fund. So that will be required for that aspect of the project for Massachusetts. But as to whether there will be additional mitigation, that's not something that BOEM requires, and it's not clear that that's something being discussed with the Massachusetts fishing industry.
Lanny,
Yes, sir.
what happens
I need your
when,
name. I need your name.
Ed Everidge,
I'm sorry?
Ed Everidge, what happens when the ownership changes, MV, to this deal?
There is a, in the separate settlement agreement that we've referenced that was executed outside of the federal consistency process, there is a successor provision with respect to the trust. There is no successor provision with respect to the direct compensation fund as far as I know of. But that provision is federally enforceable. So that has led to some uncertainty, and it's not clear what that means about whether it's federally enforceable. The process that is laid out in the federal regulations is pretty unclear about how that gets resolved, but as far as I can tell, it's within the discretion of BOEM as to whether or not there has been a violation of the terms of the mitigation.
So in other words, it's basically not worth the paper it's written on.
That's correct. That's correct.
With respect to the smaller fund, the direct compensation fund, which, to be clear, is a fund that will be very difficult for anyone to get money out of. Because you will have to prove your claims, you will have to prove that this project resulted in your loss of revenue or an impact to your loss of gear, and to demonstrate that to the satisfaction of a claims review process that is established by Vineyard Wind. So it is not clear that the money in that fund will be easily accessible, which is why in the it's why this body looked with such importance at the creation of a trust that was separately protected by the settlement agreement outside of the consistency process and was in the hands of a trust board created by this representative body. Because that portion of the agreement does have a successor provision.
I think one or two more, Bob.
Bob Morris. I'm just
Mr.
curious.
Rossi?
Bob Morris.
Morris, thank you.
I'm just curious. I'm sorry I haven't been involved as deep as you have. Perhaps this came up before. I don't know. But I don't know if anybody realizes that in the Gulf of Mexico alone, in 4 years' time, over 450 platforms were destroyed in hurricanes. That's in 4 years' time. Now, what if that?
That all, Bob.
Yeah. Now, what if this project gets wiped out and they go bankrupt?
I believe they have to post a bond for decommissioning.
And now we got debris scattered all over the ocean.
I understand it, but
What's
that's
the
not what
cost
we're
of
here
that?
to negotiate.
Yeah, okay.
That's out of our
I
control,
wasn't there.
unfortunately. I wish we had control over that. Again, we're just an advisory board. We don't have much traction here. all of this should be directed somewhere else.
I mean, the
Not
fact of the
enough.
matter,
But it is
I don't
a
mean to
good-
interrupt,
it
but
is
the
a
fact
good
is, the
point.
fact of the matter here, very important fact of the matter, these windmills, number one, are a shallower surface. Number two, they know where it built as strong as an oil, where a rig platform is. And number three, they're top heavy. So as a chance for a hurricane coming, they'll be like, gonna get hit.
But it is a good point with respect to the consideration that this body made about the time value of money and why payments over 30 years were not acceptable.
Fred?
Fred Matera. I'd just like to go back a little bit, and 15, 16 months ago, a lot of individuals, a lot of this industry sat down with Vineyard Wind, and in good faith, they wanted us to come to the table. They said that we wanted to create a working condition. What were your issues? What were your concerns? What potential impacts would there be? So with good faith, we offered an incredible amount of data. We gave them tows, we gave them directions, we told them that the alignment wouldn't work, that we needed to have some changes. We talked about transiting lanes, about the safety issues, about saving lives, saving property, etc. All of that seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. And that actually came about because we had a mechanism here. We had an enforceable mechanism. We're the only state that really has one here with the ocean stamp and with the FAB, which put this FAB and individuals like this in a precarious situation for months on end, all the way through to going to November when you had to approve a stay where you didn't. You know, so you had the ability to slow or stymie this process. And that's what you've done all along. In the interest of this industry, looking out for the industry in the long term. And from that, say, they were forced to have to come to the table with a mitigation plan. And they waited till the 11th hour to present that to you. And at that point, you had no other alternative either to make a decision in a few days or try and execute another stay. And somehow you were able to get, I think, another couple of weeks. And in that couple of weeks, you were able to bring the Attorney Yadelin and Tom Sproul to the table and come up with this, what I call, alternative package. Now, is it the best? No, it's not. The whole thing sucks. The whole process sucks. We'd all like it to all go away. But you heard Grover. This is on the fast track. You've got executive orders. We're not going to stop this, but we certainly should slow it down. We certainly should make them accountable. We certainly need the research, as Mike reflected on. And that's what you're having the ability here now. I think the most important thing, and I say because now you have a trust fund that's not in the hands of the state. I don't trust the state. I don't trust it. And, I mean, look, let's face it, this is Rhode Island. So now you have 12.5 million.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. I'm just saying, but you have the potential now with this plan to go ahead and have 12.5 million in a trust that's controlled by this industry going forward. And as Mike alluded to also, you're going to have 5, 6, 7 more battles on your hand. And this is your war chest. This is your ability to continue to keep people like Attorney Yadeley, your economist, and anybody else that you need to fight these battles and make certain that we hold their feet to the fire, that they are in compliance, because loan process is flawed. It's terrible. This is the only sort of enforceable mechanism we have right now. So don't just throw it out. Don't discount it. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I don't think anybody up here agrees that it's perfect. But it's the only and the best thing we have, and I say kudos. Let's do this. I hope you vote in favor of it because I support it. Thank you.
Megan?
My name is Megan Laff. I'm the Fisheries Liaison for Seafreeze Limited. I represent 4 commercial fishing vessels and 2 shoreside processing facilities. Mr. Chairman, I assume we're taking comments as well as questions on the motion?
No, I mean, this is, I told you, Megan, what this was about. If it's relevant to what's going on
Yes.
right here, right now,
Yes,
that's
right
what
here.
we're gonna take, and that's
Yes,
it.
yes, to
Yeah.
this motion. I'm
And
speaking
this is
to
the last one.
I'm speaking to this motion. The first, I oppose the motion. It is also not true that there was ample opportunity given for public comment because this plan was only made known in part to a handful of commercial fishing people on Thursday. Yesterday, the full proposal, yesterday was the first day that I got a copy of the full proposal. There has been no public meeting that has heard public comment on the proposal that is before the FAB today. There was an informal meeting, but not a public meeting, so
Megan,
every person.
there is public comment, will be accepted Tuesday. This
Tuesday.
is not a public comment meeting. This is an
Let her
advisory
speak.
board.
Come on. Let her speak.
This is not a public comment meeting. It is a public meeting.
It's a comment meeting now.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's not. There's a difference.
It's a one-way
And there will be
comment
one
period. That's what
Tuesday.
it is.
Tuesday, they have one. We are strictly advisory. This is not a public hearing. The public hearing is on Tuesday in front of the full council. They will accept your public hearing, your comments. We are not the CRMC council. We are an advisory board.
You're advising them wrong.
So,
Okay.
so can I give the rationale for my objection?
No.
Oh, my God.
No, we're not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna have 3 hours of
Why don't you guys
hearing.
just
This
speak down
isn't
the
a hearing,
coffee
it's a
shop?
meeting.
You should be down the coffee
Is
shop,
there any
sir.
more? I just came
Your
from.
investment in
That's
this
where I'm
fishery
going
is
now.
that.
Because you
Okay,
obviously
okay,
are
let's-
wasting everybody's
let's
time
bring this
here.
down. This is,
Unbelievable.
the discussion is gonna be to the board members, and that is it. That's it. I've taken the comments I've taken.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Show
Any
over.
more discussion? Any more discussion?
Unbelievable.
It's a scam.
The whole thing is a scam. The attorney represents 2 of the board members. She's a former member of Conservation Law Foundation that tried to put everybody out of business for the last 30 years.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
I'm calling for the vote. All in favor? Roll call vote. Name, who you represent.
Brian Tebow, representative of the lobster fishery. I approve to move forward with this motion.
Mike Marquetti, I approve the motion.
Christopher Brown, I approve the motion.
Rick Bellavance.
I have a mail-in ballot from the Gilnet sector. He was in Florida, Greg Mataronis. He's asked me to be his proxy, and he also approves the motion. Motion passes. Is there any other motions? Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I do have another motion. It's a procedural motion, just to, in my opinion, give us a little sense of security as we move forward. I move that the Fishermen's Advisory Board votes to recommend that as part of any concurrence, the Coastal Resources Management Council specifically reference the February 22nd, 2019 settle agreement executed between Vineyard Wind and CRMC and all the attachments in the state's consistency letter. I have rationale for you.
You get a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The FAB has reviewed the separate settlement agreement that Ms. Yeatley referenced earlier in her comments that was entered between Vineyard Wind and the CRMC outside of the federal consistency review process, which provides, and that agreement provides greater certainty about the performance of the mitigation in that legal context, if and when the Vineyard Wind project goes into construction. So it's a safety net for us, and I feel like that document needs to really be part of the package and referenced throughout the discussions on Tuesday.
Anyone else? All in favor? Roll call.
Brian Tebow, approve the motion.
Okay, good.
Brown approved the motion.
And Greg Mataroso also approves. Gilnet from Secana.
Yeah.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.